The three alien boys lived in a small house on the edge of the human district. Their family was poor, but the boys were full of energy and always curious about the strange world around them. Every day they played near the old spaceport where humans often came and went with their shining machines and heavy cargo. To the boys, humans looked powerful and rich, always dressed in clean clothes, always walking with pride. One evening, just before the twin suns dipped below the horizon, a wealthy human man noticed them. He stood tall, his suit made of shining fabric, his face calm but serious. Behind him were three heavy-looking bags. The boys had never seen such bags before. They looked strong, made of black metal and locked with glowing seals. "Boys," the man said in a voice that was deep but smooth. "Come here. I need help carrying these bags." The oldest boy, Caro, stepped forward first. He was the tallest and always tried to act brave in front of his younger brothers. The second boy, Liren, looked at the bags with wide eyes, curious but careful. The youngest, Sio, only 9 years old, stayed back for a moment, his small hands trembling. "Sir," Caro said politely, "where do you want us to carry them?" The human pointed at the road that led up the hill toward a huge white mansion. Its windows glowed like fireflies in the night. "To my house," he answered simply. The boys looked at each other. They had carried wood, water, even stones before, but never such strange bags. Still, the promise of a human's coin was too good to resist, so they each grabbed a bag. The moment Caro lifted his, he felt the weight press down on his shoulders. "It's heavy," he whispered. His arms shook, but he did not want to look weak. Liren bent down to lift his bag. The metal surface felt warm, almost alive. As he walked, he could swear he felt something shift inside, like a small movement, as if something living was trapped within. His heart beat faster. Sio, the youngest, struggled with his bag. It was so heavy he almost fell, but then for a moment he felt the bag shake. Just once, a sudden sharp movement. His eyes grew wide. He almost dropped it, but the human's calm gaze froze him in place. "Don't open them," the man said quickly, his voice low. "Just carry them." The three boys exchanged a nervous glance. None of them dared to ask more questions. They walked up the hill, step by step, their small feet pressing into the dusty road. The mansion grew larger with every step, glowing brighter as night covered the sky. When they reached the gates, the human pressed his hand against a scanner, and the heavy iron doors opened. The mansion was silent, almost too silent. The windows reflected the starlight, but inside no voices could be heard. "Leave the bags by the door," the man ordered. The boys obeyed. With relief, they placed the bags down. Their arms ached and sweat ran down their foreheads. Caro tried to be polite. "Sir, what is inside? It feels very heavy." The human looked at him for a long moment. Then very slowly he smiled. But his smile was not warm, it was sharp, almost cold. "Something valuable," he said. "Something you cannot understand." The boys felt a shiver run down their backs. "Here," the man said, tossing them a small pouch. Inside were bright silver coins, more than they had ever held in their lives. "Thank you, sir," Liren said quickly. But Sio kept staring at the bags, his small eyes full of fear. He wanted to ask about the shaking, but his voice refused to come out. The man closed the mansion door behind them. The boys walked down the hill, clutching the coins, but their minds were restless. That night at home, they told their mother everything. She listened carefully, her face growing pale with every word. When Caro mentioned the weight, when Liren whispered about movement inside, and when Sio said the bag shook in his arms, her hands began to tremble. "Children," she said in a sharp whisper, "you must never go near that man again. Do you understand?" "Why, Mother?" Caro asked. "Because some bags should never be carried," she answered softly, her eyes full of fear. The boys looked at her, confused, but they did not argue. Later that night, as everyone slept, Sio woke up suddenly. He thought he had heard something, a soft sound like a whisper. His eyes opened wide, and for a moment he was sure he saw a faint glow at the edge of his window. He sat up, his small hands shaking. The whisper was not loud, it was almost inside his head. A voice, calm but strange, saying words he did not understand. The boy froze in fear. He wanted to wake his mother, but he could not move. He just sat there, staring into the dark as the glow outside slowly faded. The next morning, their mother stepped outside the house. Her eyes fell on the ground and her face turned pale. The earth was marked with strange patterns, glowing faintly in the early light. She covered her mouth in shock. Something had come in the night. Something had followed them home. The morning light spread across the small alien house. The three boys were still asleep, but their mother was already awake. She stepped outside to fetch water, but what she saw stopped her in her tracks. On the dusty ground near their doorway were strange glowing marks. They were not footprints, not scratches, not any animal sign she knew. They were long curved shapes burning faintly with a blue light. Some of them circled around the house. Some led straight to the door. Her heart began to race. She bent down and touched one mark with her hand, but it was cold, not hot. The glow pulsed once like a heartbeat, then faded into the soil. Her mind filled with fear. She had seen marks like this only once before, many years ago when she was young. That time, it was connected to humans smuggling forbidden machines into alien villages. Rumors said those machines could change minds, control thoughts, even break entire worlds, she whispered. No, it cannot be happening again. Inside the house, Caro yawned and came outside. Mother, what is it? She quickly covered the marks with her shawl. Nothing, child. Go back inside. But Sio, the youngest, rubbed his eyes and said, Mother, I heard something last night. I think it was coming from the bag. Her face turned pale. She pulled him close. What do you mean? Sio lowered his head. I heard a whisper. It wasn't in my ears. It was inside my head. It said words I couldn't understand. The mother's hands trembled. She remembered stories whispered by old women. Stories of ancient human war tech hidden in black metal bags. Weapons that carried their own voices, calling out to the weak-minded, choosing hosts. Children, she said firmly, you must never speak of this to anyone. Do you hear me? No one. But why, Mother? Liren asked. The man gave us coins. He was rich. Maybe he just has strange things. She shook her head. No, rich humans do not carry simple things. They carry power, and power like that is never safe. Her voice broke into a whisper. If the council learns you touch those bags, they will not protect you. They will protect him. The boys were silent. They trusted their mother, but curiosity still burned inside them. That night, the family sat together for dinner, but no one spoke much. The mother's eyes kept shifting toward the window. The boys noticed how tense she was, how her hands never stopped moving, how her ears seemed to wait for the smallest sound outside. When darkness fell, the wind carried strange noises through the trees. At first it was just the creak of branches, then faintly a low hum. It was soft, but it did not belong to nature. Caro frowned. Do you hear that? The mother stood suddenly. Her face hardened. Stay away from the window, but Liren couldn't resist. He pulled back the curtain just a little, and what he saw made him gasp. Outside, near the edge of the trees, floated 3 glowing lights. They were not torches, not lanterns. They moved slowly, smoothly, as if alive. The colors shifted, blue, then green, then white. They pulsed in rhythm like they were breathing. Mother, Liren whispered, his voice trembling. They're here. The mother yanked the curtain closed. Do not look at them! Do not let them see you. The boys were terrified. What are they? Caro asked. Her answer was heavy and cold. They are watchers. The man sent them. They are looking for you, or for the one who heard the whisper. Sio's small hands shook. Me, he said quietly. They are looking for me. The mother hugged him tightly, but her eyes showed she was afraid too. She remembered the past, the time when humans brought glowing machines into alien towns. She remembered people vanishing, whole families taken away, never to return. That night, no one slept. The mother sat by the door with an old knife in her hand, though she knew it was useless against machines. The boys huddled together in the corner, whispering fears. Sio could not close his eyes. The whisper returned, soft and calm, echoing in his head. Chosen. Chosen. By dawn, the lights outside were gone. But when the mother opened the door, the glowing marks were back, brighter than before, circling the entire house. Her legs almost gave way. She pressed her hand to her chest. She knew what this meant. The man would not stop. The bags were not just heavy cargo, they were seeds of danger, and now her family was caught in the middle. She turned back to her children. Her voice was firm, but her eyes were wet. Pack your things. We cannot stay here. We must leave before they come. The boys froze. Caro whispered, Mother, where will we go? She looked out at the rising sun, her face set with fear and determination. Anywhere but here, she answered. The boys and their mother left home at dawn, but the children's hearts were heavy. Their mother had forced them to leave their small house, but she refused to explain fully why. The glowing marks, the whispers, the strange lights, none of it made sense to the boys. As they walked through the dusty road, Caro finally asked, "Mother, what are we running from?" "The man paid us."
Why would he hurt us?
The mother's face stayed hard. "Because some things humans carry are not meant for children's hands. They are not even meant for this world." But curiosity burned stronger than fear. That night, when the mother finally slept from exhaustion, the three brothers whispered among themselves, "We should go back." Caro said in a low voice, "We should see what's inside the bags." "That's dangerous," Liren replied, though his eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Mother will be angry." Sio hugged his knees. "The voice. It keeps calling me. I hear it even now. It says my name. Maybe if we go back it will stop." Caro's jaw tightened. He was the oldest. He always felt responsible. "We must know the truth. Otherwise we'll never be safe." So when the moon rose high and their mother still slept, the three boys crept out into the night. The road to the mansion was long, but they moved quickly, guided by the whisper in Sio's head. The mansion stood at the top of the hill, glowing faintly in the darkness. Its windows were lit, but the air around it was silent. Not a single bird sang, not a single insect buzzed. The silence itself felt heavy, like the mansion was holding its breath. The boys crouched low near the tall iron gates. Through the bars they could see the wealthy human pacing in the front hall. His back was straight, his hands clasped behind him. Then slowly he turned toward the bags. One of them was now open. The boys held their breath as they saw what was inside. It was not clothes. Not food, not treasure. It was a strange cube, metallic and glowing with pale blue light. Its surface was covered with shifting symbols, shapes that seemed to move like living things. It floated just above the bag, humming softly as if alive. Liren's eyes widened. "What is that?" The cube suddenly pulsed with light. The sound grew louder, a low thrum that shook the air. The wealthy human smiled, not with kindness but with victory. From the shadows, armored guards entered the room. Their helmets covered their faces, their weapons glowed with sharp red light. They did not seem alarmed. Instead, they formed a circle around the man in the cube as if protecting a treasure. But then, without warning, the mansion's alarm blared. Red lights flashed across the walls. The human did not look afraid. Instead, he stood calmly as if expecting this. The guards tightened their circle, weapons raised. The cube's humming grew louder. Its glow spilled out of the open window and reached into the night. The boys ducked, terrified. But Sio gasped, because the cube's light bent and stretched outward, pointing directly toward them as if it could see through the walls. "It's looking at us," Sio cried softly. The cube pulsed again, and in that moment all three boys heard the whisper. Not just Sio this time. "Found you." Their hearts froze. Caro grabbed his brother's arms. "Run!" The boys stumbled back down the hill, their feet kicking up dust. The alarms of the mansion echoed behind them, mixing with the hum of the cube that seemed to follow inside their skulls. At last, they reached the safety of the trees. They hid among the roots, panting, shaking. "What was that thing?" Liren whispered. Sio's small hand still glowed faintly, the mark on his skin brighter than ever. His voice was quiet but steady. "It's not a thing. It's alive." Caro pressed a hand to his chest, trying to calm his racing heart. "Alive or not, it knows we saw it. It knows who we are." Above them, the night sky flickered strangely. For a brief moment, the stars themselves seemed to shift, as if rearranging into patterns. The boys watched, terrified, as the same glowing symbols that were carved into the cube appeared across the heavens. Huge and impossible. The patterns shimmered, then faded. The forest went silent. Sio whispered the words that none of them wanted to hear. Mother was right. We should never have touched those bags, but deep inside, he knew it was too late because the cube had seen them, and now, it would never let them go. The boys stumbled into their small camp just before dawn, their clothes dirty, their faces pale. Their mother was waiting, her eyes sharp and worried. The moment she saw them, she knew. "You went back," she whispered. Caro opened his mouth to defend them, but she raised her hand. "I told you never to go near that mansion again." "Why did you disobey me?" Liren's voice shook. "Mother, we had to know. The bag, it wasn't normal. We saw what was inside." Her hands trembled. "What did you see?" Sio stepped forward slowly. His hand glowed faintly in the early light, the strange mark pulsing. A cube had floated. It spoke to me, to all of us. The mother staggered back as if struck. She grabbed Sio's wrist, staring at the glowing mark with horror. No, this cannot be. Mother, what is it? Caro asked, her lips pressed into a thin line. Her voice was low, almost shaking. That is not a simple machine. It is forbidden technology. Human war tech from the old galaxy wars. Weapons that were supposed to be destroyed centuries ago. The boys stared at her in disbelief. Why would a wealthy man keep such a thing? Lyran asked. Because humans are greedy, she snapped. They smuggle weapons across the stars. They keep power for themselves. That cube is not a treasure, it is a curse. It binds itself to whoever touches it. And now, her eyes burned with fear as she looked at Sio. It has chosen you. Sio's voice was small. I didn't want it. I didn't ask. Her tone softened, but only slightly. It does not matter what you want. It has already marked you. The boys fell silent. The campfire flickered and the weight of her words sank deep into their hearts. Suddenly the sound of boots echoed through the forest. The mother froze. The boys turned. Shadows moved between the trees, armored soldiers, their helmets glowing faint red. They found us, the mother hissed. The family grabbed what little they had and ran. Branches whipped against their faces. The ground shook beneath their feet. Behind them, the soldiers' heavy steps grew closer. Caro glanced back. They're gaining on us. The mother pulled her children down a hidden path that wound deeper into the forest. She had lived here her whole life. She knew trails even humans did not. Still, the soldiers followed, their weapons glowing brighter. Suddenly, Sio stumbled. His hand hit the ground and the glowing mark pulsed like fire. In an instant, a hologram burst into the air. The family froze. A giant map hovered above them, made of light and stars. Strange symbols stretched across it, glowing brighter and brighter. It showed dozens of alien worlds, each marked with a red circle. The mother gasped. These are colonies. Alien homes. What does it mean? Lyran whispered, her voice cracked. It means the humans are not just hiding weapons. They are planning something far worse. They are preparing for war. The boys' hearts pounded. Sio stared at the map, unable to look away. He could feel the cube whispering inside his head again. Chosen, keeper, protector. He wanted to scream, but the voice was calm, almost comforting. The hologram faded as quickly as it appeared. The glowing mark on Sio's hand dimmed, but the fear in his family's eyes did not. The mother pulled him close. Listen to me, all of you. You must never let the humans take this cube. If they succeed, every alien world will burn. But we're just children, Caro said, his voice breaking. How can we fight them? Her eyes softened for a moment. You are not soldiers, but sometimes fate chooses the weak to carry heavy burdens. She looked at Sio's glowing hand, and fate has chosen us. Before they could speak again, the soldiers' voices echoed closer. Search this way. They are near. The mother grabbed her knife, though it was useless against plasma guns. Run deeper into the forest, she ordered. Find the caves. I will slow them down. No, Caro shouted. We won't leave you. You must, she said firmly. If they capture you, they will take the cube. And then it will be the end of us all. The boys hesitated, torn between fear and duty, but the sound of soldiers crashing through the trees left no choice. With tears in their eyes, they obeyed, running into the shadows. As they disappeared into the darkness, Sio looked back one last time. His mother stood tall, her knife in her hand, her face fierce with love and fury. The forest swallowed her from view. The boys ran until their legs burned, until their lungs screamed for air. Finally, they collapsed inside a hidden cave, their chests heaving. Silence surrounded them, broken only by the whisper inside Sio's head. The war begins. You are the key. Caro slammed his fist against the stone wall. What have we done? We only carried some bags. Lyran whispered the truth they all feared. No, brother. We carried something much bigger. Something that could destroy us all. Sio held his glowing hand close to his chest, tears in his eyes. He did not want this. He wanted to be a child again, to laugh, to play. But now he understood. The cube had chosen him, and nothing would ever be the same. The cave was dark and cold, but the three boys could not rest. Their hearts still raced from the sound of soldiers in the forest, and their minds burned with fear for their mother. Caro paced back and forth, fists clenched. "We should go back. We should fight!" "With what?" Lyran asked, his voice shaky. "Stones, sticks. They have weapons that can burn through walls." Sio sat quietly against the rock, staring at his glowing hand. The mark pulsed softly, almost alive. He whispered, "The cube doesn't want us to fight them." "Not yet, it wants us to run." Both brothers turned to him. "How do you know that?" Caro demanded. "Because I can hear it," Sio said, his voice trembling. "It whispers to me. It shows me things." Caro swallowed hard. He wanted to protect his little brother, but deep inside he was afraid of him too. Suddenly a sharp sound echoed outside the cave, boots on stone. The boys froze. Voices shouted in the distance. "The soldiers had found their trail! Quick!" Lyran whispered. "We must move deeper." They grabbed their small bags and ran into the twisting tunnels. The cave stretched on and on, lit only by faint glowing crystals. The air was damp, the ground uneven. Every step echoed too loudly. Behind them, the soldiers' lights grew brighter. The cave walls flashed red with the glow of plasma weapons. "Faster," Caro urged, pulling Sio along. The boys reached a fork in the cave. Two paths stretched into darkness. "Which way?" Lyran cried. Sio stopped, clutching his glowing hand. He closed his eyes. The cube whispered again in his mind, "Left, safe." "This way," he said, pointing left. Without hesitation, the brothers followed him. The tunnel twisted down into a wide cavern. At the center stood a pool of water perfectly still, reflecting their frightened faces. For a moment, silence returned, but then the water rippled. From the surface rose strange shapes, metallic fragments that floated above the pool. They hummed softly like the cube. Their surfaces glowed with the same blue symbols. "What are those?" Lyran whispered. Sio's eyes widened. "Pieces of another cube." The fragments circled in the air as if recognizing Sio's mark. They pulsed in rhythm with his hand, then slowly settled back into the water, disappearing without a trace. Before the boys could make sense of it, a soldier's voice echoed through the tunnel. "They're here!" Blinding red light filled the cavern. Plasma bolts struck the walls, exploding in sparks. The boys dove behind the rocks. Caro shouted, "Run to the other side!" They scrambled across the cavern, their small bodies moving faster than the armored soldiers. Sio stumbled, but Caro pulled him up. Lyran threw a stone at the lights, desperate to distract them, though it did nothing. As they reached the far tunnel, the cube whispered again in Sio's head. "Protect, shield." Suddenly the mark on his hand flared bright. A wall of blue light burst into the cavern, blocking the soldiers' fire. Plasma bolts hit the shield and fizzled out. The boys froze in awe. You did that!" Lyran gasped. Sio shook his head. "No, the cube did." The shield held for only a few seconds, then shattered like glass. The boys ran into the tunnel before the soldiers could fire again. They didn't stop until their legs gave out. The tunnel finally opened into the forest again, the night air cool and sharp. The boys collapsed under the trees, breathing heavily. For a moment, they thought they were safe. But then, far above, the sound of engines roared. The boys looked up and saw dark shapes moving across the sky. Human ships, scanning lights sweeping across the forest. "They're searching the whole land," Caro whispered in despair. "They will never stop," Lyran said. "Not until they take the cube." Sio looked at his glowing hand. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. "Then we must not let them take it, ever." Caro shook his head. "We're children. What can we do against ships and soldiers?" Before Sio could answer, the cube's whisper filled his mind again, stronger this time. "Chosen, Keeper, you are not alone." Suddenly the mark projected another hologram into the sky. This time it showed not just alien colonies, but a hidden path, coordinates to a place far away, deep in the mountains. Lyran stared at the glowing map. "What is that?" Sio's voice trembled. "A place the cube wants us to go. Why?" Caro asked. "Because there is more," Sio answered. "More like it. More power. And if the humans are preparing for war, we are the ones who must stop them." The forest shook with the thunder of engines above. The boys held each other close, the glowing map fading from the air. They were scared. They were alone. But now they knew the truth. The chase was only beginning. The night air was filled with the low roar of engines as human ships swept across the skies, their scanning beams tearing through the forest. The three alien boys huddled beneath the trees, the glow of Sio's hand fading slowly. For a moment, silence returned. Only the sound of their quick breaths filled the air. Caro clenched his fists. We can't keep running forever. Sooner or later they'll catch us. They already know we have the cube, Lyran whispered. That's why they're searching. They'll search every forest, every mountain until they find us. Sio stared at the faint mark on his palm. It was no longer bright, but he could still feel the warmth. The cube's whispers echoed in his mind, calm but heavy. Keeper. Path. Trust. I think it's showing us where to go, Sio said softly. The hologram. The mountains. It wants us to follow. Follow a machine? Caro snapped. Are we mad? It's human war tech. It doesn't care about us. But Lyran shook his head slowly. What if it does? Sio touched it and it protected us. That shield. That wasn't a weapon against us. It was saving us. Caro bit his lip, torn between anger and fear. Finally, he sighed. If we follow it, maybe we'll find answers. But if we don't, the humans will kill us anyway. The choice was clear. By dawn, they began their journey. The forest gave way to sharp cliffs and winding paths. The mountains loomed high, their peaks lost in mist. Every step was hard, but the cube guided them through Sio's glowing hand. As the day passed, they found a narrow path hidden between two great rocks. Strange carvings covered the stone, glowing faintly, the same shifting symbols they had seen on the cube. It's been here before, Lyran whispered in awe. The path led them into a hidden valley. At the center stood ruins, ancient towers broken by time, covered in vines. Yet even in their brokenness, the towers hummed with faint light. The boys entered carefully. The air felt heavy, as if the ruins were alive, watching them. Suddenly, Sio's mark flared. A beam of light shot from his palm, connecting to the center of the ruins. The ground shook, dust falling from the stones. The boys froze as a massive hologram filled the air. It showed thousands of stars, countless worlds connected by glowing lines. At first, it looked like a map of the galaxy. But then certain worlds burned bright red, marked with human symbols. Those are alien colonies, Lyran whispered. The hologram shifted. Images flickered. Humans loading bags into ships, cubes glowing in secret chambers, weapons firing and destroying cities. Entire planets fell into silence. The boys' eyes widened in horror. Caro whispered, This is their plan. They're not just smuggling weapons. They're planning to invade every alien world. The hologram showed humans in council halls shaking hands with alien leaders, but hidden beneath their tables were the same black bags. Bribes, threats, secret deals. The humans were not alone. Some alien leaders had betrayed their own people. The mother's warning echoed in their minds. The council will protect him, not you. Lyran's hands shook. The humans, they've been planning this for years, and the council is helping them. The hologram shifted again. This time it showed something unexpected. The cubes were not human creations. The images revealed ancient battles long before the humans arrived in the galaxy. The cubes were built by an older race, one that had vanished. They were meant as guardians, not weapons. But the humans had stolen them, twisted their purpose, and used them for war. Sio's heart pounded. The whisper in his mind grew stronger. Keeper, restorer, you must choose. He fell to his knees, clutching his glowing hand. It's talking to me. It says I must restore what was lost. Caro stared at him. Restore? How can you restore anything? You're just a child. But Lyran's eyes were wide with wonder. Maybe that's why it chose him. Maybe only someone pure, someone not yet broken by greed or war. Could be its keeper. The hologram began to fade, but its final image burned in their minds. A giant fleet of human ships, carrying cubes spreading across the stars. Behind them, worlds fell silent one by one. Then the ruins fell dark again. The boys stood in silence, their breaths heavy. Finally, Caro broke it. We can't do this alone. We must warn others. We must find those who will fight. Lyran nodded. But who can we trust? The council is already working with the humans. Sio stood slowly. His small face looked older now, harder. The cube will guide us. It wants us to fight back. If we don't, no one will. Before his brothers could reply, the sound of engines filled the sky again. They looked up. A human ship hovered above the ruins, its shadow falling over them. At its center stood the wealthy human man. His cold smile cut through the air. His voice echoed from the ship, sharp and cruel. You have something that belongs to me. The soldiers around him raised their weapons. Caro grabbed his brother's hands. His voice was fierce. Run! The ruins shook as plasma bolts rained down. The chase was not over. It was only just beginning. The ruins shook under the thunder of engines. Dust fell from broken towers as the wealthy human's ship hovered above, casting a giant shadow across the valley. Bright searchlights cut through the mist, blinding the 3 alien boys. On the open platform of the ship stood the man. His fine clothes glowed under the lights, his smile sharp and cold. Around him, soldiers in black armor raised their weapons, red plasma humming in the night air. His voice boomed across the ruins. Children, you have something that belongs to me. Give it back and I will let you live. Caro clenched his fists. It doesn't belong to you, he shouted back. The man's smile grew thinner. Oh, but it does. That cube is human property. It is power beyond your understanding. Hand it over, or your story ends here. The boys huddled together, fear pounding in their hearts. Liren whispered, What do we do? Caro's jaw tightened. We fight if we must. Sio's hand began to glow again, brighter than before. The mark pulsed like a heartbeat, flooding the ruins with blue light. He felt the cube's voice in his mind, stronger than ever. Keeper, stand, decide. The wealthy man raised a hand. Careful, boy. That power is not yours. If you give it to me, I will make you rich. Your mother will be safe. You will live in my house, eat my food, wear fine clothes. You will never suffer again. The words cut deep. Sio thought of his mother, who might even now be captured. He thought of hunger, of long nights in the cold. For a moment his hand wavered. Caro saw the doubt in his little brother's eyes. He grabbed his shoulders. Don't listen to him, he lies. He only wants the cube for war. But the human's voice was smooth, like honey dripping with poison. Think carefully, child. Do you really believe you can fight me? You are only boys. I command armies. I command the council. Without me, you are nothing. The soldiers stepped forward, their weapons aimed directly at the children. The glow of red plasma filled the ruins. Sio's heart pounded. He wanted to run. He wanted to hide. But the whisper inside his head grew louder, like a storm breaking free. Keeper. Protector. Choice. Now. The cube was not asking anymore. It was demanding. Suddenly, Sio lifted his hand high. The glowing mark exploded with light. A wave of energy burst out, throwing the soldiers back like leaves in a storm. Their weapons fizzled out. Sparks lit the air. The wealthy man's smile finally cracked. For the first time, fear crossed his face. No, it cannot be. The cube chose you? The blue light wrapped around the boys like a shield. The ruins themselves began to hum, as if awakening after centuries of silence. The broken towers glowed with ancient power, answering the cube's call. Caro and Liren stared in awe. Sio, what are you doing? I don't know, Sio said, his voice trembling. It's not me. It's the cube. The wealthy man stepped forward, desperation in his eyes. Stop this, child. You don't know what you're touching. That power will burn you alive. But Sio's voice grew steady, his fear fading. It was never yours. It never belonged to the humans. It was always meant to protect, not destroy. The ruins glowed brighter. The shield around the boys hardened into crystal blue walls. The soldiers tried to fire again, but their weapons broke apart in their hands. The man's calm mask shattered. You think you can defy me? I will hunt you across every star. I will burn every world you touch until you bow before me. But even as he shouted, his ship's systems began to fail. The cube's power reached upward, striking the engines with streams of light. Sparks exploded and the massive ship lurched in the sky. The man staggered, gripping the rail. His eyes locked on Sio. This is not over, he growled. Then, with a roar of engines, the ship pulled back into the clouds, vanishing into the night. Silence fell over the ruins. Only the blue glow remained, circling the boys like a gentle storm. Caro dropped to his knees, exhausted. We did it. We drove them away. But Sio shook his head slowly. No, this was only the beginning. The cube's whisper returned, soft but clear. Keeper, war comes. You must rise. Sio looked at his brothers, his small face lit by the glowing light. The humans will keep coming. They will not stop until they control every world. We must fight back. We must find others who will stand with us. Liren swallowed hard. But we're just children. Not anymore, Sio said quietly. The cube chose me. That means we have a duty, and if we don't stop them, no one will. The ruins fell silent again, but the stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if listening. The boys stood together, fear still in their hearts. But also something new. Resolve. The wealthy man would return. His armies would come. War was on the horizon, but the cube had chosen its keeper, and now the galaxy itself would change.